Meeting to order. This is Monday, February 24th. It's 5 p.m. and this is a regular commission meeting for the month of February. If you would, please stand and join me in a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would bow your heads. Father, we come before you and we thank you, Lord, for the city of Clewiston. We thank you for, Lord, just your grace that's over this city. We thank you, Lord, for wisdom tonight and decisions that have to be made. We thank you for your guidance and your leading. Lord, we thank you for those that protect us, our first responders, police, and sheriff, and those that work, serve in the military. And we just pray your protection over them, and we thank you, Lord, for their service. And Lord, we just glorify your name tonight, and we do pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you do the roll call.
Mayor Pittman,
Here.
Vice Mayor Heislope,
Here.
Commissioner Edmonds,
Here.
Commissioner Gardner,
Here.
Commissioner Williams,
Here.
City Manager Williams,
Here.
City Attorney Brandenburg.
Here.
Have a quorum, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mayor.
But I would like to add number 8 is in the agenda packet, but it was not on the agenda. And that was the CRA board, sorry. So we
Okay,
can make that distinction.
so we'll make that number,
It's number 8. It's
In the
just,
consent agenda.
yeah, it's in the
oh,
consent.
put it on the consent agenda. Okay, got you. Number 8 on the consent agenda is the CRA board resolution. Okay, we have a couple of presentations tonight. I'll go ahead with the orders. Ms. Thomas is not here, but we did have a proclamation for her tonight. We'll make sure that she gets it. She actually received this award at the chamber dinner several weeks ago, and I know that several people had things to say, but if anyone would like to say something before I read this, just to get it into the city record, you're more than welcome. I'll read this proclamation for Mary Nell Corbin Thomas as the Citizen of the Year. Whereas Mary Nell Corbin Thomas has spent most of her life in Clewiston. Her parents were John and Sue Corbin, and they operated Corbin's Feed and Seed. Many people, all the old timers remember that. That's where you bought your Christmas tree, too. They had Christmas trees way back in the day. If you're wondering where it was, it's where Worry-Free Plumbing, where that building is now. Whereas they moved back to Clewiston in the early 1980s, and their husband Mitchell took the reins of the store. Mary's love for teaching led her at a position at Clewiston High School as the health science instructor and the Future Health Professionals Club sponsor, the HOSA. And that was her dream job, nursing combined with teaching. Her experience as a nurse at Shands Hospital in Gainesville was a bonus for her students in her health class. And whereas Mary had the opportunity to move into a reading instructor position at Clewiston High School, this was a win-win for Mary, the students, and the teachers. Mary retired from CHS, and she hasn't retired from her love of encouraging others to read. Mary is on the Clewiston Friends of Library Board to this day, and she helps with the book club at the library and the annual fundraisers for the Friends of the Library, and uses her talent pointed to donate many items for auction, not only for the Friends of the Library, but for Clewiston Christian School and the Henry Regional Medical Center. I'm just skipping down through these paragraphs, but I encourage you guys to read this proclamation all the way through. Mary continues her teaching gift at Clewiston United Methodist Church. Every Sunday, she teaches adult Bible study and shares the children's sermon. The Methodist Church holds an annual teacher's luncheon, which Mary helps to facilitate, and you will find a hand-painted stool or two for a new teacher to have for their classroom. And Mary has shared her education skills in many different ways, and she has initiated having a grief class, a grief share class at the Methodist Church. And I know folks that have gone to that class around the community that have lost a loved one or a spouse or had a tragedy in their life, and that class really has helped a lot of people. So Mary is an exemplary model of community service. Therefore, be it resolved that I, James Pittman, Mayor of the City of Clewiston, along with my fellow commissioners, do hereby proclaim on this day that Mary Nell Corbin Thomas is the 2024 Citizen of the Year. So we could applaud if you would like to. Even though Mary's not here, she can get a recording of that, and we will make sure that she gets her proclamation.
Also, Mayor, before we start, we forgot public comment for a non-agenda item, and I do have one. Ms. Brown.
Oh, okay. We must have skipped right over that. Okay.
Right.
Well, we can go back then and have public comments for any non-agenda item. You're more than welcome to approach the podium and state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Kathy Brown, and I live at 318 DeSoto Avenue. And coincidentally, I'm on the board of the Friends of the Library. And I came to remind you guys that Friday and Saturday is our second annual yard sale. It is not going to be in my yard this year. It's going to be inside the library. So that's really cool. Second is, everybody's talking about what's going in Big Lots, what's going in Big Lots. I'm begging you, contact Aldi. That is a USAID building.
Yes.
Aldi in Okeechobee is in a USAID building. It's the same floor plan. They're wonderful up there. I shop there every week on my way back from work in Port St. Lucie, and I would love to have an Aldi locally and not have to travel an hour away.
Okay.
As well as many of my friends.
I can let you know, Ms. Brown, that we did make contact with them, but they have not reached back out to me.
What's the time on the yard sale?
Friday is 9 to 5 and Saturday is 9 to 3.
Okay. Any other public comments? All right. Well, we'll move on to a presentation. Item number 2 under presentation, Melissa Morley.
Yes, Mayor, at our last workshop, you spoke about our change agent for our employees' health benefit. And so Melissa Morley is a representative who will be our person from the Goering Group. So she and Miss Anna Marie Staley from the Goering Group is on to give our presentation. Melissa, you hear?
Good evening. Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. We're very excited to come on as a broker of record for the city of Clewiston, and I get the chance to work with Lakeisha again, as I worked with her prior at Loxahatchee Groves. So I'm just going to share my screen here pretty quickly, making sure that, everybody can see my screen before I start. Yes, I'm assuming.
See it. Yes.
Okay, great. So our first slide is we're going to talk a little bit about the Goering Group so everyone understands who we are. We have been in Florida for the last 30 years. Our owner, born and bred in Florida, over here on the East Coast. We are privately owned by Risk Strategies Company, and this is very recent, but we will always be known as Goering Group in Florida. We are laser focused on the best interest for you, your employees and retirees, not stockholders, and we have full transparency. Also at the Goering Group, which makes us very different, is that we are licensed non-commissioned team members. We have all-inclusive services, which of course, everything is being paid for via commission underneath the city of Clewiston. We have 16.9 years of leadership under our belts at the Goering Group, along with 11.2 average for years of our staff at the Goering Group. We have a local presence, as I mentioned. We are all over through Florida, and we've been here for 30 years. But we also bring a little bit of expertise with the national leverage underneath Risk Strategies. So here's a quick slide about Risk Strategies, and then I'm going to get into more of us at the Goering Group. As you can see here, over the whole leverage of the United States, we have over 150,000 clients and 5,000 employees, and we work with mostly every insurance carrier in the market. We are both an employee benefits and a property and casualty firm. Now, to target us here at the Gehring Group, because that's who you'd want to know about, is we are the public sector national lead underneath risk strategies. We have been serving government for over 30 years. We have over 140 clients in Florida, and we have a 98.6% retention rate for our government clients in Florida. We have top tier status with our carriers, which includes Florida Blue. As I understand, that is who the city of Clewiston has. We always talk about innovative and proven solutions, which you'll see closer to the end of my slides about a summit that we conduct, and then our experience and tenure. We always talk to our cities about funding methods, clinics, if applicable, wellness programs. If and when you want to implement a wellness program, we're there with you to hold your hand and to help you through all that. Our why statement at the Gehring Group, of course, is we want to promote and support all of our cities, and it's to inspire our communities to envision and embrace new possibilities. So we had, come up with that as our 30 years in the public sector world of this is our why statement. Our team approach to employee benefits consulting is you have a senior benefits consultant on your team, which is me, an analyst, an account manager, client service specialist, account relationship manager. And then, as I mentioned, we also have a property and casualty side. So if you were ever to become a property and casualty client, you'd have a risk management consultant and a safety and loss control person. As you can see, the city of Clewiston is in the middle of all this because we are here to help support you. Along the additional resources at Gehring Group, we do have a graphics and communications team that creates your beautiful employee benefits booklet. We have a wellness consulting team. We help support legal and actuarial. And then, of course, an online enrollment system is something that the city of Clewiston will be moving to in the future if you would like so. We can certainly be a consultant on that. So what I did here on this slide, of course, is just to get a little bit more granular on the team that you would have underneath the Gehring Group, underneath myself as a senior benefits consultant, and what my role would be. We have Louis Satano and what his role would be as the analyst and account manager. And then we have Carol Broderick, who would be the account relations manager or the client service specialist. And then we have Marianne Stiles, all sitting in Palm Beach Gardens, where our headquarters is, but we'd love to come out to Clewiston to meet everyone in person at some point in time. And then to get into more about us as an employee benefits consultant in our timeline and how we support you, this is our renewal and request for proposal process. I won't get into all the details on this screen, but just know that we are there every time, at all times of the year, not just when renewal comes around on October 1st. So I will be supporting Lakeisha throughout the whole process and the board, and I can do any benefits workshops that you may need in the future if that is something that you would like to see. So of course we do a program review, which I'm in the process of reviewing right now. Then we talk about a budget. We create a timeline of expectations. And then we get into the renewal process. When your renewal is released from Florida Blue, we always ask for it early. We have a big book of business with Florida Blue, so we are a platinum broker underneath them. That is our tier of status. And then, of course, from there, we do the negotiations. We decide if we're going to need to go to market, and that's the RFP process. And then, of course, the final decisions. And then it turns over into open enrollment support and meetings, and then all the collateral that goes along with the education of your employees on the open enrollment side. And then we have a tool that's called CAVU. It's an employee benefits benchmarking tool. It is great for government entities, so you can see how your benefits match up against other entities in your area or throughout the whole state of Florida. We do have all of our clients on this CAVU benchmarking, and there's no additional cost for this. We use this all the time for our public sector clients just to get an idea of where you are compared to other entities your size, near your zip code, or throughout all of Florida. Great tool. And then we talked a little bit about our wellness program. If and when decide and Clewiston wants to maybe do a wellness in the box activity, we have this program called Wellness in a Box, and you pick any one of the programs that you want to do. There's steps challenges, hydration challenges. That's something that you can pick. And then we help you implement that and do that for your employees at the city of Clewiston. We can also conduct employee surveys to see what employees are actually looking for in a wellness program. And then of course we can tailor it around that. And this is our biggest slide of the regulatory compliance. As you know, there's always something that's in an act underneath the government for regulatory compliance in the employee benefits world. The Consolidated Appropriations Act had many little employee benefits information inside that act that then were mandatory for fiduciaries to do. So we make sure that we send out a legislative compliance newsletter. We do client seminars and webinars talking about each one of these things as they happen throughout the year. We have an Insurance Education, Innovation, and Excellence Summit that's held every April, and we'll talk about that as City of Clewiston is invited to come. We have a client portal. We have mental health first responder programs in a portal. And then Mineral is a HR platform that whoever has access to it can ask Mineral any questions about HR policies, harassment policies, whatever you may need, you can ask Mineral it. And then, of course, there are professionals who answer that within 48 hours back to you and quote the statute that they find the answer in. And then, of course, I also conduct an annual on-site compliance checklist and review and planning, and this becomes a working, breathing document throughout the year. And as we move through each one of the compliance timelines, we check off what we have completed and then what we need to do in the future and how we're going to create a strategy around it to complete everything that's on the timeline. We are affiliated, of course, with CIAB, which is the Council for Insurance Agents and Brokers, NABIB, and then Safe Barth and Shaw is our employment attorney that we use underneath Gehring Group, and also host some of our webinars along, of course, with Risk Strategies Council members, as there is an in-house employment attorney there also. And then our advocacy, our ongoing education. We are, like I said, always around. We are always in the background or we're in the foreground. It depends how much you want to lean on us. We are there for you, the team of people that are assigned to the city of Clewiston. Very happy to excited to have a new client for us. We have our staff and leadership, which is our 24-hour response time. If any of us are out of the office, you will know who that backup is. Of course, we support the employees can come to us directly with claims, appeals, and questions. We can create a custom email for them to email, and someone on the team will get back to them within 24 hours. We're always educating everyone on everything. Retirees and members are also included in that. And then, of course, our communication campaigns that we do throughout the year or during open enrollment. With our in-house graphics, we create flyers for benefits, and we also create the benefits booklet, and we can do some recording, a customized or virtual recording of information that you may want to educate your employees on throughout the year. And then lastly, this is just some of our pictures from our annual summit that we hold in April every year, networking and education. Throughout the year, we come up with all of the content, and we have nationally recognized speakers that come to the conference in Palm Beach Gardens and speak to us depending on what our theme is. This year's theme is around storytelling, and we've done this for the past 5 years, this summit. It really is a big deal, and it's a lot of fun, and it is well worth the education about what's happening in employee benefits throughout the state of Florida and the United States in total. And then lastly, in my little bit, we want to thank you for sticking your neck out every day. We're here to support you. This is our mascot, Geraldine the giraffe. So we just want to introduce you to her. You see her on a lot of our pamphlets for marketing. And she is, saying thank you for sticking your neck out every day at the city of Clewiston. So happy to be on board and happy to answer any questions that you may have about the Gehring Group or Risk Strategies.
questions? Must have done a good job.
Okay, great.
I thank you very much, Melissa, and we'll talk later. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Have a good evening.
Bye, y'all. Okay, we'll move on to Randy Martin. Randy Martin. Randy Maxton. You're not Randy Martin, sorry. Finance Director, he's gonna, and we might, if we have to, we'll pull off the consent agenda or water rate and sewer rate increase if anyone from the audience has any questions. But he's gonna present the reasoning and the study that was done, just so you guys know in advance, your water rates.
In progress.
Will be going up.
Can I?
You pull that mic.
Well, I was. Is that
Oh,
good
is that
enough?
what messed up? Oh, okay.
All right, is that good enough? Can you
Yes,
all
sir.
hear? Okay. Well, they're getting my team on the TVs in just a second, and I've been allocated. I think I've got 15 minutes to go through this, so I want to kind of get rolling right away. I guess the easiest way to start is to say for the water and sewer funds specifically, we are projected to run out of cash in 2027. When I first got here about 8, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, it was pretty evident that was happening, and it's taken me a little bit of time to get my numbers in order and the support to prove that, and to say, and to give some good presentations as to why and how we came about doing it. I did give you a rate comparison that I want to talk about at the end of the presentation, but it does let you know that compared to every other city that I came across, our rates are so low, and things aren't getting any cheaper, especially in that area. What most cities do is they will hire a consulting firm to do a rate study. And that rate study will typically go out 5 years. They come in, they look at your budgeted revenues, your budgeted expenses, they look at your capital expenditures, they look at your grants, they look at all that stuff. And the problem with those is 10 minutes after they hand you that report, it's already outdated. So many things change with this, and I didn't really want to go with that because it's just such a pinpoint in time, and you really can't do anything with it going forward. So we are partnering with Waterworth. On the screen is Erin. I'm going to introduce her in just a second. And they do all the same things basically that the rate study does, but they stay with you afterwards. An example is that we've got some grants that we need to get an extension on. If something happens with those, or if we learn, for example, maybe part of that has to turn into a loan or whatever. The rate study doesn't care, it's done, but with Waterworth, we get in there and we can adjust the budgets real time and make adjustments quickly. And, so it's an ongoing thing. At first, it's getting down and dirty with hours and hours of putting in data that we put in. And then going forward, they help support with the software maintenance and continuing to help with the models and that stuff. So, and with that, what I wanted to do was kind of turn it over to Erin, because she has put together the presentation that we're going through. And we've discussed it in depth. And as you go through it, we're going to present 3 options on what we think we can do right away. But if you want to see any other option, they're pretty good about making changes on the fly. And we can look at a whole bunch of different things and check out the cash flows based on whatever scenarios we want to put together. Erin, I didn't even check. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you okay.
Okay, great. So I'm going to hand this over to you. This is Erin Cleese. She works for Waterworth. And yeah, Erin, you are now our second group to be on our new TVs in our conference room. So we're all excited that we're getting good use out of this stuff. And I'm going to turn this over to you to kind of go with it. And I'm going to be right here, and we can work together on any follow-up questions at the end of this.
Awesome. Sounds great, Randy. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us here. I don't know if you can see on the TV there, I'm also joined here by my colleague, Naya Jameson. The three of us, Randy, Naya, and I have been working together, as Randy was mentioning. And yeah, we're very excited to be here. And Naya is actually going to do the majority of the presentation today, so I'll go ahead and pass it over to her.
Thanks, Erin. Hi, everybody. So I think what I want to do is just jump into a little slideshow that we've prepared, and you might have it in front of you. If not, that's okay. We can always send it out afterwards. But then after I go through everything, we'll be able to actually jump into the tool and look at those couple options that Randy was just talking about. So I'll just start by sharing my screen here and put this in. Slideshow. So, sorry, I should have started from the beginning. So what you're looking at right now is a copy of all of your operating and debt expenses from your water and sewer budget. So from 2022 to 2024, or 2025 is all based on your actuals in your budget. And then moving forward from 2026 onward is a projection based on 3% inflation. And we just wanted to note that there was in 2022 an extensive transfer out as payments to other funds. So that we wanted to note doesn't affect anything in the future at all, but that was something to keep your eye on for the past data. And then so basically, along with this, I guess I'll give you a bit of pretext just so that the rest of the slides make sense. I'm just showing you layered expenses right now. So the darkest blue is your operating expensive. In 2025, it's about $4.5 million, and you can kind of see how that goes back down in 2026 based on various different projects starting and ending. But then how it raises with the inflation, and then layered on top of that is about $1 million of debt expenses between the water and sewer. So then next I will show you the capital expenses. So there's a couple different projects in here. The green is all of the capital expenses. So you can see a few different projects that we've highlighted here, and then different grants as well. The blue are revenues coming in the form of grants to cover these expenses. And the red are loans. So you can see that they've been sort of highlighted here. And we've gone back and forth on what to expect for these grants. And this is what Randy's decided is the most likely scenario. And I can go a bit more in depth about this, and we can look at the actual values in a second here, but I'll just finish running through this so you understand what you're looking at. So layered on here is all of your expenses, and you'll see in the next slide how the revenues appear as bars. So when you're looking at it as a total, your blue is your operating expenses, your green is your debt expenses, and they're all solid sort of background layers. So here we go. Now we have our revenues, and you can see that the revenues are fairly steady in the future. We've got our rate revenues, some developer contributions, but mainly the things to focus here are that your revenues aren't increasing at all in this particular scenario. So this is kind of showing you your status quo. And then again, some of these grants that we've assumed for the future. So here's everything overlaying. And basically what you can understand from looking at this picture is that in most of these years, your expenses appear higher up than your revenues, which indicates a deficit in each year. As you can see, in 2025, you're pretty close to receiving the revenues required to cover these expenses. But in 2026, without receiving a full grant, and in 2027 again, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with these grants. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on as well. But you can see how even in the future, the revenues aren't going to be keeping up with these expenses, which leads our cash to drop below zero. Estimated for that to be happening in 2027 based on the reserve that you have right now, and then the deficit in the next couple of years. So We used the cash balance of 3.8 million for the beginning of fiscal year 2025. I believe, Erin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was given to us by the, was that from a 2024 closing balance audit?
I can quickly check on that for you. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. That number's gold.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. And then, yeah, so you can just see how this trends downward pretty steadily. And by 2027, that's when we're dropping below the zero line. So here's the whole forecast overlaid. And you can see it all sort of makes sense when you're seeing this deficit, this cash line drops quite significantly. So here are a couple scenarios that I can show you. Our first scenario is just by doing a 5% increase each year. And I think that the goal of this is kind of to show that 5% each year will give us about a year of a head start. But by 2028, we still are falling into a negative position. And then the next scenario would be to look at doing a more significant increase in 2026 and 2027, being 25% each year. And by doing that, you can see how the revenues increase from 25 to 26 to 27, and then stay steady after that. And you can see how your cash drops almost down, but starts to make its way back up, and you would be building up a bit of a reserve by doing it this way. So any questions? I know this is a lot, and you probably haven't seen this before, so feel free to ask any questions, and I'll also bring up the actual models here for us to look at.
Okay. So as you can see, again, to go back to what Waterworth is doing versus a traditional rate study is, as things change, as those 2027 grants come in, primarily for the expansion of the wastewater plant is what we're talking about. That information is the best we have available right now. I was getting with Lynn, getting with Danny, and it's our best projection at this moment. That might change and get extended out to 28, 29, but we have the tools in place to make those adjustments. But I think you get the idea of, we built this in, and we've tried to come up with several different scenarios, and it's just hard to get around the fact that something needs to happen. And one of the things with having Naya and Erin on right now is, even on the fly this afternoon, we're talking, and it was too late to make any changes at the presentation, but, you can ask the what if it's 25% today and then 5% for 4 more years? And we can build something like, Naya, is it possible to do that real quick? Is just take the first year at 25% and the remaining 4 at 5%?
Yeah.
Just to kind of have a pop. Now, again, while she's setting that up, I did want to say I did pick for, if you were to vote on something tonight, I did pick the 5% for 5 years. It's not a final solution, but we've done something. We're getting on the road. We bought ourselves a year, and we can discuss it further, come back with Naya and Erin in a year and say, well, it's time for us to move a little bit more aggressively now. It just depends on, I know you have the ear of the citizens and they don't like rate increases, but we do have to do something. So that's why I chose the 5%. And maybe we have an opportunity to be more aggressive, or maybe we choose option number 1, which is literally to do nothing and just address this again next year. Anything's on the table, but what I think we're doing here really allows us to present many different options. And again, I know we have 15 minutes, but this is something I feel like we could have a weekend retreat on when you look at everything and throw some what ifs, especially with grants. How much of Florida DEP is affected by what's happening in Washington now? Does that mean that we may be indirectly affected with grants a year from now? Maybe. So there's a lot of unknowns, and but this is, for today, a good, solid, shot at a forecast. Budget is typically for the next 12 months. Forecast goes out after that. And forecasts are really hard, so it's great to have kind of a dynamic software. And did that just show up on there? Did you already make those changes to this model with that what if?
Yeah.
Okay. So
This
what
is
you did real
updated to
quick-
show,
Yeah, so the only change we made right here, it looks like the first year we said 25%, which you can see, keeps us from going negative at any point in the cash flow process. And then if we did 5% for the next couple of years, you can see that we don't get the reserves of where I think they should be, which is going to be about 8 million. But we'd be halfway there, so again, we can look at some different scenarios this way. And this will allow us during budget time to also look at, do we delay the potential expansions, or do we be more aggressive based on what's happening in the rest of the community? So,
No, it's a great job, Randy.
yeah, and really, I would like to open up just for some questions, because Aaron and I can help me, or I can field them depending on which way those questions go, and I've got them.
Well,
a few
just
more
for
minutes.
clarity and for the public's benefit, this is a water rate increase, but it includes sewer.
Well, it's water
Yeah.
and sewer as Fund 420, our water and sewer fund. So this is separate from our electric fund, it's separate from solid waste. This is just specifically,
And you mentioned a reserve fund of 8 million. Where did y'all come up with that?
well, if we did the 25% scenario for 2 years, is that one ready, or did you have to change that one around? If we just did
no,
25% twice?
it's right here.
Okay, so if you look at the screen now, if we still 25% 2 years back to back is aggressive. But if you do it quick, you can see on this scenario where we just looked at 25% for 1 year and then some 5% increases. The slide that is up on the screen now shows you 25% for 2 years, and you can see that in 2032, you follow that line across, and it does come over to about 8 million as being our cash position. So that's where that number came from. And that's the beauty of this software. Again, the static report from the rate study, we can't move around like this. We basically can present this, they get up here and tell you this is what you need to do. And, but as far as specifically on the 8 million, that was this scenario here, to where we did 25% rate increases 2 years, and then we're done, and we can look at it again 5 years down the road or something. So it's aggressive, but it's there for you to take a look at.
Right. So the increases, did you project any capital, any restoration
Yes.
of
So-
existing lines?
So again, what the green represents in those presentations is, that's the capital spending. And we made the assumption, can you, Aaron or Naya, can you go to that slide in the presentation that discussed the 3 or 4 projects? It had the Della Tobias on it. So here's an example of some of those items. So we have the comprehensive plan upgrades that are, in the green. And right now, we're budgeting over the next couple of years, 17 million for the expansion of the wastewater. And then the Della Tobias and Airglade grants, those, we're gonna tack on an extra, I think we've assumed 100% grants for these items, which we don't have
They
any.
are.
Yeah, and we don't have, if they change, we can make that change, but we've tried to put everything in at 100%. So that's why you see the green line with the matching blue lines to cover the expenses in the years. We may be off on our year, maybe a lot of that drags into 28, but right now, we made the assumption that this project's gonna be done in 27. So we've tried to take into account that. And another thing, last year when we were doing the budget, we were doing the 10-year plan, we weren't really working with, or I wasn't really working with Waterworth at the level that we're doing now. So, even going into this year's budget, we will have the opportunity to really spend 2 or 3 times as much time in that capital budget plan in this department. I think our capital plan is good, but we'll be able to focus a lot more time on it. Because sometimes a 10-year plan, we're so focused on the annual budget that we don't look as hard at the 10-year plan as maybe, or say me, I didn't look as hard at the 10-year plan than maybe I should have, but I don't think there's anything materially wrong with it.
Randy, your final, including the resolution, you did a 5% for the next 5 years. Is that, you felt comfortable with that?
thought that's what I could get away with tonight, so something gets done. So I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah, but looking at even doing the 5% for 5 years, we're still going to drop down into the negative rather quickly.
We are. It buys us a year, and I kind of thought, well, okay, let's get something rolling. And it does appear sometimes we get working on a project and it falls by the wayside. And if that happens, at least we'll have the mechanism in place to at least get that 5% increase already approved by the board. I solely represent, solely talking, from the city's point of view and, the green hat accountant, when I say this, if I thought if I could get away with being more aggressive, I would have, but I just wanted to get some place to start. And if you agreed with the 5% for 5 years, I would actually try to implement that tomorrow. I would hand it over to Monica and say, let's start this on the next billing cycle. Because we do need to start really focusing on what we want to bring in as far as
I guess the
revenues.
jump from 5% to 25% has got me a little bit.
Well, sure, but
Because, I mean, I
There's
can understand.
something in the middle.
Right. Well, and the fact is that, if we don't do anything, 2027 is going to be,
right.
really rough.
30%.
Right. yeah.
Naya,
But-
can you do one other thing real quickly for me? Is it possible to do
I-
10%
Yeah,
for 5 years?
I'm ready to go. 10?
Yeah, try 10% for 5 years, and then we can see what that one looks
Because
like.
even at
so.
5% from what I'm looking at, I mean, that even gives us, you're giving us year one with 6883, with year 5 at 8366. And you've compared us to large cities and to smaller cities, and our rates are still lower than the 4 comparisons that you have here, if I'm reading this
At
correctly.
5 years
And
out.
you know they'll be
Yes.
increasing.
Yeah,
those.
and you are. And what they're
Substantially
referring
still,
to, if
yes.
anybody in the audience wants one of these, it's a little sheet that shows our rates compared to Orlando, Manatee County, City of LaBelle, and Okeechobee.
Right, and I think that a lot of the citizens, they hear, 5% jump, they're like, holy crap, they're going to jump us up. But if they take a look at the chart that you gave us right here, and they really look at the numbers, it's not that bad. It doesn't hurt.
You
Now-
realize, Jason, they're going to increase too.
I know.
Well,
I know.
But just to give you some context, I base this off my personal water bill. So, and let's say 6,000 gallons of usage. So that means my bill today would be $65.55. Orlando would be $75. Manatee County would be $95, 94 and change. City of LaBelle would be $153, and Okeechobee would be $126. If we went up 25% tonight, we would be at $82. Orlando 75, Manatee County 94, LaBelle 153, Okeechobee 123. Even 25% right now, we would still be the second lowest, only behind Orlando, which has gazillions of people to offset their bills against. So again, 5%, there was nothing magical. It's what I thought I could get y'all to maybe vote on right away. But if you said, hey, let's revisit this again next month and give us 25%, I could do that as well.
What-
Now, what Naya's done here, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I was going to say the 10%, what does that look like?
Well, here we go. So what we did is, and that's the beauty of this software also, is we can make these changes on the fly. So as you can see, we end up in the same place because over 5 years, we're still going up 50%. It's a little bit lower because of the timing that the money comes in. When I say that, 2 years of 25% versus 5 years of 10%, both get you to the same spot of that 50% increase. So as you can see here, even 10% will keep us positive through 27 and 28, and it will build up our reserves. Instead of being around 8 million where I'd like them to be, it looks like it would be closer to about 4 million. That's great. We could work with that
And
too.
what was the monthly amount? The 10% increase
Well,
would be adding $6.55?
Yeah, be 10% would be $6.55, and it would ultimately end at 102.42-ish. Well, it's not going to be exact because compounding and stuff like that, but it's going to be very close to $100 and change at that 5-year mark is where it would be.
So it would be at 72.10 if I'm looking at this correctly, using the 655.
Yep, it would be
increase.
about that, and then next year would be
Which
7210
is still lower
plus
than
10.
the cities you just mentioned, Orlando, Manatee
All of them
County,
would still be the
LaBelle,
lowest.
Okeechobee. You know, and I think, you know, when we talk about, and you were talking about your home,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I've talked to a lot of people who are still they're struggling with their insurance right now. They're
Sure.
struggling with, you know, their tax bills, or they're struggling with just overall usage. You know, everything's gone up so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd rather us start lower and then increase in the next 2 to
Understood.
5 years.
Yeah,
Hopefully
absolutely.
that the economy will get better and inflation will go down. But I think that, you know, I'd like to say 5% for the first year, and then maybe 10%, you know, and go up that way. But I think 10% at $72 from 65.55 is reasonable as well.
And you, you want to implement this immediately, not at the end of the budget year.
Well, depending.
I mean,
If we do
what does
5%,
the
we gotta
graph
go right
represent?
now.
Immediate or
Well,
budget?
if we did 5%, we really kind of need to pull the trigger as soon as possible. If we wanted to approach it at 10% for 10 years, we could implement it whenever we wanted to. I wouldn't want to go any later than beginning of the year, maybe June 30th or September 30th. So when you look at it over, there's a big difference between the rates ultimately being up 25%, 5% for 5 years versus the 50%, however we get there. It gives us a little bit of time as far as the implementation date.
Well, I usually give my enterprise fund speech at this point, which they've all heard multiple times. Our enterprise funds have to carry themselves.
Yes.
And they have to project, and they have to replace our antiquated system, our failing water lines and sewer lines that are in the old part of town that have to be repaired. They may not have to be repaired today, but they will next year and the year after and the year after. So if we do a rate increase, I mean, I want to make sure I would like to see it kind of level. I do agree we're low. We're low on garbage too, so that discussion's coming soon.
Well, I work with Waterworth on solid
Yeah,
waste as
so
well.
just be
And I
ready.
didn't want to bring that up. I don't want to be all bad news.
So we won't hit them with that tonight too, but all of our enterprise funds have to not only pay for themselves, but they have to project the money that's going to be needed for the new truck, the new filtration system, the new sewer plant, whatever it is. And I agree with Molly. I really don't want to hit 25% off the bat, but I think we probably need to hit 10. And
I
then-
agree with 10.
And then look at it.
I believe 10 across, Mayor. The cost of the material is tripled, and I think it's going to continue right now the way it is with water lines. I mean, the Tobias line, I think when we first quoted it 2 years ago, was like $500,000. Now it's 1.7. So that's 2 years. So, I mean, I know we're trying to do what we're doing the best we can and get grants, but you know, we're not always going to get a grant, and it takes time to get grants. As you can ask Lynn, it takes a year practically to fight to get the funds.
Or it might turn into whether it might be a 0% loan, but it's still stuff we have to pay
and
back.
we don't want to get into that, but we do need to look and really focus on what it takes to run our departments. And it is true. We got to look at garbage again because I think we're kind of low, and we have done a lot better. We're able to buy our trucks, which is fantastic. You know, we didn't have to borrow money, but that's a big plus. And that, again, it's going to be water, sewer, the same thing. The lift stations, you know, we're going to try to do one a year, and right now that's about $30,000 to $40,000 just to rehab it. So, you know, one a year. I mean, we'd like to budget, pay for it, and be done. In the water plant, we're doing a 10-year study. Try to stay ahead and implement things there. Not cheap, just a study. We're looking to try to get grant funds. It's, I think, $100,000. And again, just to get a 10-year study of what it's going to take to keep our plant going. We're trying to add a skid for growth. Don't panic, we're fine. We can produce 3.25, and right now we use about 1.7. But I think we need to look at that stuff, and we need to make sure we're strong enough and we have the funds and not look to borrow. Like you say, the water lines. We got a lot of old water lines. And I think if we budget and have reserves, we get rid of those lines.
Yeah,
Thanks.
there's
Great
not much
job.
to add to that, you know, so, again, you know, water, we didn't really, I thought Aaron and I might do the little sales pitch with the fact that you guys are already working with hundreds of cities around the U.S. Related, you know, specifically in the water area. It's not like we're their first client or anything like that. These guys have
No.
got a lot of,
Yeah, definitely not the first. We do this. I think this is the third meeting we've done today. So
okay.
Just had a meeting
I'll
in
tell you this,
Massachusetts.
Randy, working with getting rate studies, this has been much better.
It's more
Far
dynamic.
better.
It allows us to
I know
keep
you've
going
done
forward.
a lot, but
so-
it's been really good for us. Usually rate studies, we pay a little bit and then, you know, it comes out and it's just, here it is, 1 or 2 years, but this is fantastic.
And that's what I was hoping for, you know, and they haven't disappointed. Waterworks been really good to work with. And also, if you look at the way I wrote that resolution, it's not that great. It was my first stab at writing one, and I just wanted to get something. So if you gave me another month to,
You grade him on it.
I was trash.
Lakeisha didn't do
It
very
was
well with
terrible.
him.
Yeah. She did. She attacked me in our staff meeting. I get it. It was. But I will have a whole month to present something a little better. And do you think it's reasonable to try to maybe do the 10% 5 years and see if you all see what feedback you get from the community over the
I
next
mean-
30 days?
I mean, I don't know, I mean, I know that we want to build up the reserves, and we both all mentioned water lines, and I know only some of them are in the CRA that we could cost share with them, but I think it's important for us to upgrade, you know, the ones that we know that we started working on and have the funds for that, but also, I don't know if we want to do a 10% across. I mean, I think we should start at 10% and analyze it and look. I mean, it might be 12% one year or 30,
sure.
you know, depending on the cost of
Goods.
yeah, I don't, you know, so I don't know how that works on this, you know, if it has to be a set amount for the next 5 years.
It doesn't.
Okay.
And I can tell you, the only reason why I did is I see a bunch of examples around the city, and what I've seen is where we start off strong and it falls by the wayside. And my only thought process in doing multiple years was that worst case scenario, at least we have that autopilot.
Gives you
to
the
where
bare
it doesn't
minimum
get
you
stuck.
need.
Because I think
Okay.
before this, we looked at water rates 15 years ago.
Been a
I don't know when it
long
was. It was a
time, yeah.
long time. And I just, my only goal with that is to, you know, really try hard not to have it fall by the wayside and to kind of keep this on the top burner
Sense.
until, so, and I can work with Danny over the next 30 days to decide, do we want to somehow word it to where 10% with 5 options, or just say 10% and we address it again next year? And we can decide that in meetings outside of this, tonight, so.
Come back with,
but we
come
can-
back for next month. Is that
Yeah,
what you're
but
I
we
saying?
can at least come
let's
back to
go
say-
for the 10%.
Yeah,
And
we
then
can
we'll
adjust
leave
it
it
anytime we
open.
want.
Or, you know, so we can fine tune it and get something better in front of you than what you have now as far as our.
Well, this is good. I mean, it's what we needed to talk about to,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was the
Or-
thing. We have to do something, and I just want to have, kind of give you a sense of urgency that I think it needs, and hopefully that's been conveyed.
Good.
So,
Okay, any more questions? So the next question is, if we want to make a move tonight, we would need let me see if I can find your resolution in here.
Page 119.
119.
Yeah, we have to have it.
yeah, and it definitely wouldn't hurt my feelings if the motion was to delay 1 month with a rewritten thing to start with. I'm sorry? Oh, sorry.
And Randy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your reso is number 7 on the consent agenda. So, it's, okay. I think there's also some notice requirements that have to go out to the utility customers themselves. So I'd recommend we pull 7 from the consent this evening and then
Okay, yeah.
bring
I
it
was-
back next month.
Yeah, I was going
Okay.
to say we need to make it a date certain too. But yes, and the PSC has no involvement. We're good to go.
You can raise the rates.
Okay. Okay,
March.
Yes.
so any questions for Waterworth before they tune out? Everybody good?
Yeah, appreciate their
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Awesome, Aaron and Naya, thank you, and we can, you guys can disconnect at any time. I do appreciate you sticking around and throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, it's no worries. Pleasure working with you, Randy, and nice to meet everybody else. Of course, next month, if you want us back in the call, just let me know. But more than happy to run any number of scenarios for you all.
Awesome.
And thanks for having us here as well.
All right, thank you.
All right, enjoy your night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Randy, and we'll move to the consent agenda. We're going to pull item 7.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with item number 7 pulled.
Second.
Motion by Gardner, second by Highslope. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Just for public consumption on item 8 on the consent agenda was a resolution for the CRA board. I would like to read those names just so the public knows who is now on the CRA advisory board. Chris Musgrave Jr., Wendy Costello, Matthew Waddell, Dr. Raymond Carroll, Timothy Potts, Kirsten Maxon, and Stephanie Thomas. So if anybody would like to see those names after, you're more than welcome to come up. And thank you all for agreeing to serve. We appreciate it very much. We know it's time out of your schedule, but it's worthwhile for the city of Clewiston. And I know you guys are going to do an awesome job. Okay, we'll move on to, we have 2 public hearings. Consideration of ordinance 2025-01 on the second reading, approving the abandoning of and vacating of multiple unused roads and alleys. We talked about it last time. There's a pretty good map and description. I just wanted to confirm that we checked and we have no utilities in any of these. If we do, are we going to keep an easement for them?
Yes, some of them we do. We're going to keep an easement.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions about, I brought my little pointer. If you guys can look up here on the map, the only question I had, and Danny answered it, was if this is now the lake access, and if at some point we improve this area, we end up having a road that comes out back into the city, we're gonna close all these accesses we have now. So I just want to make sure in the future that we're good with coming out. Help me out, Danny, right there?
That's it, yes.
Yeah, we would come out this road or cross over and come out in the new area that's going to be built out here. So we could come out here into the city or later.
Yeah.
I just don't want to close something off that we may need.
No.
I think that
You'll
this-
have 2 accesses.
I think that plan
this
is
time.
fine, but I just wanted to point, that's the only question I had when I met with Danny, so. Other than that, does anyone have any other comments on? Our ordinance, we'll declare that it is a public hearing, so I'll declare the public hearing open. If anyone would like to come out of the audience and make some comments, yes, sir, please come and state your name and address.
Hello, I'm Dr. Leonard Carroll, and I just wanted to say thank you to each one of you. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the CRA Advisory Board and hope to be around a long time to help with that, what happens.
Yes,
Looking
sir.
forward to it.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll.
Thank you, Dr. Carroll.
Seeing no comments from the public, any from the commission?
I'll abstain from any consideration.
Sustain.
I'll abstain.
Oh,
Abstain.
you're abstaining. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and read this by title. Ordinance number 2025-01, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, abandoning and vacating multiple unused road and alleyways described particularly herein within the City of Clewiston, Florida, reserving a public utility easement over the same and for other purposes providing conflict severability, providing for an effective date. Any other comments or questions by the commission? Okay, we'll declare the public hearing closed. Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Edmonds. Second by Williams. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this is also a public hearing, ordinance 25-02. This is a consideration on the first reading, approving and amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 10, Amusement and Entertainment. Amending Section 10-45, Application Prerequisite. Amending Section 10-46, Same Fee and Purpose of Fee. I don't know if Travis or Danny wants to
You know, so
kind of fill us in on,
it's basically just giving me the authority.
yes, very minor changes to this
Yeah.
ordinance, but
Travis made the changes. Giving me more work.
It is. Travis Reese, Fire Chief, Community Development Director. Yeah, this, special events are becoming more popular, especially with our food trucks. So we were, this section typically was reserved for your larger festivals that would come for special events. But because we needed a placeholder for those special events, some ordinances in place, we put it here. We quickly found out we're getting overwhelmed with the smaller ones. So what we're proposing is to change the authority from the commission to the city manager, give that person the ability to approve the smaller ones, keeping the larger festivals, anything over 5,000, the fair, the sugar festival, all that still has to come back to the commission. And it also adds language in there for those smaller festivals where you would typically set the fee if there was compensation for fire or police or recreation or solid waste. The manager can do that through our fee schedule. So I think it's a good change. Really, it's just a text amendment to that ordinance. It's not a significant change.
Well, because I noticed that we had several events already earlier this month, and we just
Hopefully
approved them.
catch up. So people, we
So,
try to accommodate the
it
folks.
makes sense because it's, one meeting a month is not going to cover everything that needs to be done in a community our size.
Right.
Yeah.
And the staff gets inundated sometimes with, I have a great idea, and then it's really, we have to inform them, well, you just missed the meeting.
Be the
It's going
next
to be a
month.
little while before we can get back to it. This would, if approved, this would be much cleaner.
And just for the record, I mean, those 3 events were city events, so I understand that it was okay to go ahead and do that. That's not
Yeah,
an
yes,
issue,
the
but
manager
I know
felt
that
confident enough we could
it
make
does
it
slow
happen.
things down. I mean, it does. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Right. And this was in the works prior to that. We just finally got that to you in front of you. And I think, talking with individual, I think it's the right thing to do.
Thanks.
Questions on that? Thank you. And just to let you know, we will be coming back with some other ordinances doing very similar at next month's meeting, but they had to go to P&Z, just cleaning up some language, making it more efficient.
Okay, well, ordinance 2025-02 by title is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 10, Amusement and Entertainment, amending Section 10-45, Application Prerequisite, amending 1046, Same Fee, Purpose of Fee, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinance, conflict severability, providing for an effective date. Anyone from the audience have any comments? Commission, any more questions? Okay, public hearing is closed, and we'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion that we approve ordinance 2025-02.
Motion by Haslow,
Second.
second by Williams. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Item 10 is a discussion and a draft that's in your books for the PTO, switching from our current time off to paid time off. You want to?
Yeah,
Talk
I
about
think
that
Ashley's
after?
going to talk a little bit about it. We've been talking about it, Lakeisha and Ashley and myself, so I think we're almost there.
Okay, I'm Ashley Sargent, and I'm going to talk to you guys about the PTOs. I think you've read it over, and I know maybe there was some questions on it, but in general, it's just to streamline what we currently have. So right now, we have vacation and we have sick time. this is kind of combining everything to streamline the process. But we will also still have major illness leave as well. I think it's later on in the draft. You'll see, so that employees are covered if, in case something happens, that it's not just, a common cold or somebody has to go to a doctor's appointment. This is something more major. We will still have time being put into a leave bucket to cover that as well.
Are you ready
Go
for
ahead.
questions?
Yeah, go ahead,
Just
sure.
'cause I know that we talked about this last time, because we talked about, there were so many things just done on the hours or based on, I'm trying to think how it was done, but how it's been done here for so many years. It just seemed to me when it had pages of formula basically to figure out the number of hours that somebody got for leave. And this streamlines the process for a PTO, which I think you had mentioned at one of our meetings beforehand. On the PTO, I do have a question about how the hours, how those were decided upon. Is that these a comparison of standards that maybe other communities have or private business, and that's how y'all came up? I didn't check the number of hours, I didn't do a comparison, so I was hoping that you're going to tell me, yes, we did a comparison.
Yeah, we actually did.
Okay.
So I looked at even private business, but also different cities and towns that are our size, and just looked at what in general, amount of time that people got off, the employees got off for vacation, possible sick time. So one of the things that's important to note in there is that on average, across different towns and businesses, people think that they take off about 40 hours a year for doctor's appointments, or if they get a cold, or if their child gets sick, it's about 40 hours. So worked into those numbers, or baked into those numbers that you see in front of you, is the assumption that employees will need approximately 40 hours in general of time off per year to deal with that. And then the rest would be, vacation and personal days off that they might not want. So we did take that in account. And then as far as years of service with the city, like when they're going to be able to get those different hours of time, that also was compared to different towns and cities that are our size to make sure that we were not way far ahead or way far behind, because as you guys know, that's one of the ways that we can hire and retain good employees is to provide them good benefits. And so we wanted to make sure that we were right on track when it comes to that. And so, yeah, we did a lot of comparisons to come up with those numbers. You're welcome. Any other questions?
I had some, but Danny answered them earlier, so.
Oh, thank you, Danny.
He saved you.
No, good. Anybody else?
No, I would rather be on the upscale over, because like you said,
We
to
are.
retain good employees.
We are. And just to add to that, when it comes to the transition, like if you all approve this and then we're going to transition to this, we've taken a lot of time to make sure that when we transition, no employees would be negatively impacted. They're going to be able to take over the accruals that they already have. Nobody's going to lose out on anything. So we wanted to make sure that the transition was a smooth one for the employees.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, Ashley.
So. So this was for discussion. Are we ready to approve it, or do we need
I
more
think we
time,
can-
or do you want to do it next month?
I think do it next month, you think? I would think. Lakeisha?
Yeah, we'll have a resolution
Oh,
for
we
you all
yeah.
to
we gotta have a
approve next month.
resolution.
Yeah.
Okay. We are ready for staff comments, City Manager.
I'm good tonight, Mayor. Yeah, I think so. It's there was one on here I think we're missing, right? It's the drainage. Was that on the consent agenda?
Yeah, it was number 8.
Yeah.
but we
Okay,
did
I'm
put it
sorry. I
as
thought it
number
was,
8.
I would like to talk a little bit
CRA.
about that on the consent agenda, that change.
Church
that-
cough.
That,
You know, in church, it always happens.
Yeah.
that change order, we requested.
Oh, the ZEP, the 15.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
number, it's number 6 on the
Yeah.
consent.
Yeah,
You approved it.
yeah. I just like to tell you, basically, it was holding a lot of water, so the drainage, the city requested that change order, so.
Oh, yeah.
It's on there, it ain't on there.
I would recommend, I hope you guys go watch some ball games. The fields are looking really good, and they're coming a long way. Soccer fields, I think we're gonna hit them hard, kind of, they were played hard on this year. So next year, I think they'll be really nice. We got a good staff and doing a really good job.
Gosh, Danny, I was gonna say how nice the fields look. I know when I went out Thursday night for a JV game, I was gonna,
Yeah.
say the same thing, so.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
stole my
I'm
thunder.
sorry. Well, the mayor kept looking at me, and I'm like, well, I gotta say something.
But they do look good, and, the lights are on, and, the field itself looked really nice for the kids.
I do have a meeting tomorrow with Robert and Eric Edwards at U.S. Sugar. We had a great meeting with the Granger Group, and they're excited about getting started. They are starting in Moorhaven, so I'm glad they're in our area. Met the whole team, and it was fantastic. So they're dead serious about doing business with the city of Clewiston. I think listening and talking to them, they're a good group, and they know what they're doing. I reached out to Winn-Dixie. They did give me a contact. I think she was just trying to call me. It looked like the numbers. But anyway, trying to work on a Winn-Dixie deal. Tried to work on trying to bring us a sports bar to town. Maybe look good. Culver's is still moving forward. So a lot of things happening.
Danny, I know that she mentioned Aldi's earlier, and I know that you had reached out to them, and if you could just follow back up with them, with Aldi's.
Yes, I did. They never reached back out to
Okay,
me. And
if you
but
could
I
just-
think the deal is Aldi's is selling Winn-Dixie.
Yeah, they did.
So there
They
may
said-
be some things going on, but I'll definitely
Yeah.
try that again. But I'm right
You
now.
Winn-Dixie.
I'm trying Winn-Dixie. Nah?
That'd be like having another Walmart in town.
Yeah,
No,
but
there's a Bell-
Aldi's owned, I mean, they
Dixie's
bought
good.
Winn-Dixie's.
Yeah.
Aldi was the owner, and they just sold the C, S, and F, I think is what I read in the paper. Or maybe that's the Corps of Engineers. Somebody else.
I guess too, they're gonna start the
Colorado
S-169
Grocers.
project, because we got the brand new sign we just put up, we gotta move. We gotta pull the poles, but that's great, so they should be starting soon.
Got a
So
couple
that'll,
weeks- got a
that'll
couple weeks
get,
of use
get
out
a
of it.
couple of things going, so. Other than that, I think we're doing great. I missed a lot of meetings today. Oh, the DOT meeting I missed, and I heard it is concrete from, I'll let you know, it is concrete from San Diego to Lopez. Yeah, so,
Why are they stopping it at Lopez when we have the rest of the city limits?
well, I guess Burner, they feel's in good shape, that part of the highway.
No, but how do we feel?
I
We
didn't
have
intend,
asphalt and
well,
concrete?
again, now, Lynn sent me some contacts.
Okay.
I'll reach out.
If you could do that, that would be
Yeah,
great.
but I guess they had a great meeting.
Did they mention about doing any of the crossings and projects, roundabout? I don't know if there was a roundabout.
The Highway 27 corridor plan?
I
Yeah.
think what they said, talking to Lynn a little bit, the pavers, they don't want them on 27, but they would do the sides. So I think, like Bond Street, but I think they didn't like the wear and tear, I believe, what it would cause.
Have them in Haines City.
I love the way they look too.
I mean, they have them on Highway 27 in Haines City. They have pavers across the road, 4 lanes of road.
So we've asked them for. Something that's like paper.
Damn concrete.
But what will cost is, they don't like to paint the stamped concrete, because even that does, years, they'd like to have a colored concrete. Color the concrete, then they have to make sure that they clean out the truck.
They do
They're looking for us
Far as-
to,
Yeah, well, can I
help
just make
pay.
a statement? Yeah, well, can I just make it about DOT? I mean, the Highway 27 is their corridor. You know, whenever it was decided on back in the 50s to do what was done, and as a community, I think that we have suffered enough with Highway 27, and every year the traffic increases, every year the speed goes up. Now, we're not dissimilar to other communities. I know that the city of LaBelle just recently passed a resolution to request that the DOT remove their crossing that they placed on State Road 80 without the city really realizing what was going on. And so it was in the middle of, it's in an area where it just didn't seem to be who came up with the area, I guess DOT did, but the city of LaBelle is saying, no, this is not in the best interest of our community. Could it have been placed somewhere else after we had discussed it? And I think just the two things that you've mentioned to me right now tonight, concrete for a portion of Highway 27 in Clewiston, that we're gonna go from concrete to asphalt within our city limits, you know, it should be one or the other. Or if they wanna do concrete for each of the intersections, then they should do the concrete for each of the intersections and leave asphalt for the rest. But I think that's gonna look horrendous for our town, that they go to concrete from San Diego to Lopez, and then from Lopez all the way to the railroad tracks, it's gonna be asphalt. I mean, did they run out of money halfway through, you know, a portion through the town? I'm just concerned about that. And then we have the Highway 27 corridor plan, which that was 4 years ago. And we haven't made progress on that. And I know that that they're busy and they've got hurricanes that they had to deal with. But I just really think that we need to be strong on this, because it's gonna affect, just like the 4-lane of Highway 80, 27 took away all the parking along Highway 27, and we're still suffering with that 60 years later, 50, whatever it was when they did it,
well, I got 2 contacts. We can certainly have a meeting.
55 years later. I mean, and we still
Well,
haven't
we-
got past that.
We have both those projects coming in at the west end of town,
Yeah.
so why not concrete the whole thing? In the turn, I mean, we could go, there's a dozen things.
Well,
You know, the turn lanes coming out of the
Well,
two
I just think that
plazas.
we should, other cities, I mean, they did pavers across Highway 27 in Haines City. You know, they're in Polk County. That's where their home base is at. Is it because it's right there? I don't know. I mean, and through Bartow, they have state roads that have brick pavers, you know?
We asked all these questions. This was
I think they'll work with us.
Okay.
Here's the good news about
They
it.
agreed to reopen their comment, just
Yeah.
so you realize, they had actually closed their comment period. The construction was set. And we had the meeting today with them, and DOT did agree to reopen it for 2 weeks. So all of these comments, some similar to what you're describing right now, the staff had some of those same feelings.
Right.
And so we have a 2-week window that we
Well,
have.
we
to
need,
get
we
our
need to
comments.
definitely do that.
We'll
Mention
definitely
that
get
our
it in.
commission, these are serious,
Oh, absolutely. Keep in mind,
items
this
we
is-
wanna
we're
talk
talking
about.
Concrete.
I mean, this is it.
typically look
It's
at
gonna be
15
60 or
years.
70 years before we get another shot.
Well,
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say, this is at a minimum of a 25-year before you see what we typically see at a 7-year to 10-year overlay. We won't see another DOT rebuild like this for 25 years once
Yeah.
completed.
Yeah, so
And it is touching the drainage, so they are adding 30 new inlets.
30 inlets, that's what I was gonna tell you guys. There's the positive.
they're gonna add 30 what?
Inlets for drainage.
Oh,
It definitely,
if we agreed to get half concrete and half asphalt, they'll give us the 30 inlets.
So you said there's a public meeting in April, but that would already be, the plan would already be approved.
More of an outreach for the
Yeah,
public.
so it would be afterwards. I think we really need to seriously consider a strong statement on, if we're in agreement with it, that we don't want to see, if we're going to do a concrete, then do it from city limit to city limit.
What would you prefer, Travis, to concrete or asphalt?
I agree with Commissioner Gardner. If we have our choice, that it should be one substrate all the way through. As you transition, it will look a little different. Our utility folks brought up some other issues. I don't want to get into for a moment tonight, but there are lots of issues. I was told that they're saw cutting them, so I actually asked the question, is this going to sound like the bridges that horses are galloping over as we go
right.
through? They assured me it would not. that it was gonna be a smooth transition as you go across the cold joints. They were making cold joints in the center. They are aware of the vision plan. We talked about that extensively, so that the concrete could be easily removed in the median if anything was to be placed there in the future. I don't want to get into all the details, but it was a 2-hour, I say, Lynn, probably 2 hours that we spent with them in person and some staff on webinar.
Good.
We have a 2-week window that we really need to try to hammer this out.
Yes.
Well, I think we need, I mean,
This week, we
We
need to
would
send
want to
something.
push for more concrete over the asphalt. Would you say, hey, we want concrete?
all the way through.
All the way.
All
Yeah,
the
and if
way.
they can't do it, then it goes back to
It just-
asphalt. I mean,
okay.
they're wanting to go concrete, so they don't have to keep coming back to fix this road. Because even after they finished with the asphalt, we started having, Danny, I remember y'all started calling because it kept shifting, I don't know what it's called, I don't know the term, but it just kept moving the asphalt over to the curb because of the
Think
amount
it
of
was
trucks that are
cold when
coming
they-
through.
Heavy truck traffic, they're saying
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah,
braking
but
at the red lights.
I have my
is what was
thoughts.
causing it. So this supposedly is part of a fix, but you're on the
Yeah,
right
but
path.
it's only a partial fix as far as, to me, and especially the look of the community. I mean, I think that destroys the look of our town. I mean, that you have asphalt and then concrete. It just does not make sense.
We had a comprehensive
And then they'll
discussion.
do pavers in some towns, but not other towns. I mean, I almost feel like the redheaded stepchild right now.
But
And there was
it
a-
feels like that might be what they're wanting, is for us to just be, I don't know, since last time we worked with them was, like you said, coming up with something 4 years ago, maybe we're just expected to be glad that they're communicating with us at all, and
Well, I have a feeling it's two different departments.
isn't what we have to be.
Improvement plan, when they came down, was one department. What do you want? This is, we want to move traffic department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to get those two to talk with us together and say, this is what we would like.
So do we need to, I don't know, Dylan, do we need, I mean, if we want to make a public comment on behalf of this Clewiston City Commission, do we need to give direction to, the staff and the mayor to put those comments into place on our behalf?
Yeah, you could direct the manager to, with that direction, to communicate your thoughts to those individuals. If you wanted something more formal, we could put something together in a letter and
I
you could
think we
pass
need-
it
I
by
think we need a
resolution.
letter.
I agree.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we need to
I
do.
mean, the only reason is I'm thankful I read that article because this happened in LaBelle, I think, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And now they're passing an ordinance or a resolution to say, no, we don't want it here, move it. And so I just don't want us to be in that, once they start approve a plan that we're not gonna be happy with and there's nothing we're gonna be able to do. I mean, I'm hoping they're successful in their venture, but that was a big investment on the DOT in an area where they didn't believe it was right for the community. And I certainly don't see what you guys are telling me tonight is in the best interest of the town. Might be for DOT, but not for the town.
Right.
Work on it.
So can y'all work on it with the mayor and then, and make sure it's worded
Back to
strong, yeah.
Next month.
Well, I think we need, no, we only have
Don't
2
have
weeks.
next month.
Never
We get
said we only
So,
had 2 weeks.
I mean, I think you've heard the comments tonight. I think we can get something done and have him.
Yeah.
We'll see, when those comments come back, the comments we made in staff today should be, put into the plan. We'll get a response, not saying they're gonna approve them, or if there is, as the stamped concrete that Lynn talked about, there could be cost sharing. We should know a lot more, hopefully by the end of the week.
They did mention that, Lynn said about cost sharing.
I'll say we send our, well, I'm not waiting on their comments. That could be a month.
Yeah. So I think that we need
Get the
to.
letter ready this week and send it.
Yeah, I think, okay,
We
all
got 3
right.
days, 2 days.
Okay. So
We
that's,
got some good
so
writers
we're
here.
all in agreement?
we do.
Yes, I think
Okay.
so.
All right. I mean, I hate to see myself lying on the roadway when they start doing something. But I'm thinking I might have to do that because if they start trying to do that, I think it would not be a good look for our town. We have enough to deal with, but I'll sacrifice. I'll lay out there if I need
I'll
to.
bring you water.
You'll need a permit for that.
Yeah.
I'll get the
That's a
manager.
special-
Eddie can
that's a
just
special
approve it,
event.
yeah.
There you go. I'm good, Mayor.
Got anything else?
No.
Right.
It's good. I mean,
Hey, I got a text. It said, stop talking.
Oh, let me check mine. City Attorney?
I'm
Brandenburg?
scared to say anything now. No comments.
Okay, we're just going to start at the end. Commissioner Williams?
No, I am okay this week.
All right. So all the sports going good?
All the sports are going well. Actually, I sent out an email, sorry, to 3v3 Live and 3v3 Champions. They both host tournaments all around, and they host all different types of sporting events. I'm just waiting to kind of hear back from them. But they go from, the Panhandle all the way down to Miami. They play every sport imaginable. So hopefully we can hear something back from them, and then I'll relay it to Tim and get working with that. It should be soon.
Yeah, good.
Because, and hopefully that'll go all summer long. As soon as school lets out, those clubs pick up, and that summer league picks up, whether it's soccer, baseball, volleyball, softball, whatever. So,
Commissioner Evans?
I think that's great, Jason. Listen, I'll support Molly all I can, but I really don't be laying out there on the highway either, so we
I'll
need to
take
get
it for
that
the
letter
town.
done
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
All right. Commissioner Haslett?
I agree with Commissioner Edmonds and Commissioner Gardner. And I want to thank, I guess it was Danny that got probed into talking about that, but then you guys for, updating the commission and letting us know that it's going to go a direction that we might not want to see it go. I think without staff, we would just be sitting here with no idea, so thank you. I want to commend the commission, my fellow commissioners, and the staff on the CRA rebuild that we did. I think that went really smoothly, and I'm excited to see that group of folks work together.
good group.
With that being said, I would like to officially ask that we look at the Planning and Zoning Board in the same manner that we did the CRA Board.
Agree.
Once we have gone through that process with planning and zoning, I would like for us to look at the motorhome camper issue again. I don't think that everyone was entirely in love with how that ended, and we had discussed, bringing it back. So I would like to see us do that. And my last comment is that I got some feedback from the community looking for some clarification on the city's social media platforms. Just trying to understand, Lakeisha, why we were consolidating. So I thought.
Well, the one we're moving back, recreation.
Okay. Well, does somebody want to update?
Well,
I don't know who wants
it's
to do
something, we got a lot of feedback from the rec board and a couple of others in the community. Talked to Ashley and a few others. And the mayor spoke to me about people, not wanting it moved, so we just kind of talked it over and said, we'll just leave that one alone for now.
Okay. I think it makes sense because yours is one of the more active pages. Now the city's general page is very active, but if people are looking for events and things going on, it might be easier, as some of the comments said, it might be easier to find like that. I would think that it would be a really good idea to make sure any staff that has management of a city social media page has been trained properly to understand, the law and how we have to, keep these records and maintain them. I did see an allegation about one of our pages having, something edited and then reposted, or an image edited and then reposted, and
Sure.
I just want to make sure that we're not hanging ourselves out to dry.
Lakeisha, is that something, I know that for public records, as a clerk, I know that you're on, it very well, and that's probably why you wanted to consolidate everything, I think what you're saying is reasonable, especially with the training. I think that we need to make sure that whoever's managing anything or has access to admin, that there's nothing being done that's going to bring to us a sunshine violation.
I understand what you're saying. When it comes to sunshine violation, you all, as the commission, need to also be aware that when comments are made and I see all the comments. I don't respond.
Sure.
Nothing said we had to respond, because when one of you respond and then the other one responds, that's where the issue starts. And so another reason why I wanted to streamline is for that reason. It is very easy to keep up with one page of comments than it is, we kept the police because they said it, we have 10,000 people, we kept animal control. But for cities, Facebook and social media, well, it was just Facebook, we added the other social medias. We really wanted to streamline it for that reason. Because I'm almost at the point where I'm going to cut the comments off. Then you all can't comment. You can just look at them. But we do have the software program for archive. So we do archive it.
On all of the different pages?
And
Okay.
that's, we have the economic plan. But if we keep having these all over, then the plan has to increase.
Did we look at other municipalities and see, what is the best management practice for
So-
cities?
So the ones I looked at, like I said, we looked at Boca Raton because they get a lot and they're really good with their social media in regards to their social medias and archiving. That is one reason why we do have the archiving software. So when things come, it's automatically archiving. Civic Plus archives, and then they also have a retention. So they know when we can dump this stuff that's out there. But again, we turned it back on because of the comment. And so now Parks and Rec is back up. But again, we'll just be archiving it and start paying more attention to, even when we start and post pictures, if it says by someone, we try to make sure that that watermark is still on there, because there's some beautiful pictures that people take, aerials. So we try to make sure that we are not doing anything, we're giving that person the credit.
Copyright issues.
Yeah, copyright issues and all that. So Carlos is pretty good. He helps me in the background. So we're really paying attention. And you got to watch, because it's spam that's going, because I get it all the time. Meta's telling me to,
Your admin.
move this. And I'm like, so we are watching a lot of it in the background. And you all just had Facebook, but because I wanted us to get out and rebrand us, we now have Nextdoor. We have LinkedIn. We have Instagram. So we did build our social media platforms. Oh, and we have YouTube. And, so we're really trying to transition from getting our meetings off of Facebook to our YouTube platform. And so we're going to start creating content so we really can have a YouTube page. So you have the home, we're going to have the lives. So we're doing all that.
Thank you.
I think you've done a great job with it.
Thank you.
A great job. And I
I've
think it's
received
exciting.
compliments.
So
You're like
that's why.
a city clerk and a PIO all in one.
And CRA.
And CRA.
Well,
And soon P&Z. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Gardner?
I do, and, well, I'm not gonna mention about how nice the baseball field looks since Danny.
Sorry.
That's okay. But I do have two things, Dylan. I know that a while back, and I'm not sure if it was a workshop, we talked about short-term rentals and the need for us to have some kind of policy. I know that we can't outlaw them, but I'm seeing them crop up more and more, and I just think we need to have some guidance on them. I mean, I read horror stories about, a gazillion cars in one house in a residential neighborhood over on the coast, in several houses. And so I just think if the commission's in agreement with it, that we need to have some kind of guidance on short-term rentals, especially in residential neighborhoods. And I don't know the ins and outs of it, of what we can, I realize that we're in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and, people want to, be entrepreneurs, and I understand that, and I don't know all the the law itself, what we can and can't do, but I think we need to look at it, because I see that trend going up. When someone in a residential neighborhood has their house listed for $8,000 a month, you know, or $6,000 a month, I just think that we need, not that it's not about charging, it's about knowing that we have, you can't fit 35 people in there, if it's a single-family home. I just think we need to have some kind of guidance on if there's a registry that has to be done. I don't know what the standard is, but I think we need to look at it as a community because of the fact that there are more and more coming up. When you look at our town, when I did a year ago, I think was when we first maybe talked about it, and now, it's increased quite a bit. Especially,
Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to respond. I just finished drafting a
Okay.
draft ordinance for addressing the vacation
Okay.
rentals. I'm
All right.
having Travis, Danny take a look at it.
Okay.
So you're likely to see that very soon.
Okay, and then the second thing also, Dylan, is the Main Street corridor. I know that we were at some workshops and some meetings that we talked about. There was, I think, 3 sections that were not included. Travis, if I'm correct, there was 3.
We discussed that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that we are
working
gonna,
on it.
I think we need to, I know there's a whole bunch of requirements in
There's some
that.
left out, yeah.
But I'd like for us to get that back to us so that we could really, truly, now that we have a CRA board that mirrors where the Main Street corridor is basically, I think it's important that we get that done so that we do have, that cohesiveness between both the CRA and the Main Street corridor for the look that we want for the community, which does not include asphalt for part of the town and concrete for the other part of the town.
In case anyone was wondering how Molly felt about it.
And then the last thing is that at Rotary Club today, they did announce, and I know it's out there in social media, that the Rotary Club and the city of Clewiston on March 1st, which is Saturday at 8:30 in the morning, they're going to be working on some beautifications out there at the Sugarland Park. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I encourage the community to go out and lend a helping hand. And I apologize, but I won't be there for that event, but I might be able to make it. I am out of town, so. But anyway, it's just a good community event, and as we prepare for Sugar Festival, I'm looking forward to that as well. We had a presentation today at Rotary on the Sugar Festival, and it sounds really good. So we look forward to that event.
Before we go, Mayor, I just wanted you all to know this is your last month getting paper. Your next meeting, it will be all digital. I'm gonna make sure that your tablets can handle it. If not, then I'm gonna see if I can get IT to get your iPads like I asked 4 months ago. But this is the last month. So next month, your agenda packet will be digital and it'll be live, hopefully on our new website.
You're wanting iPads? Okay.
Does training come with that?
Yeah, and you
Just like your phone.
and you can't change your
Exactly like your
and
phone.
you can't change your passwords. The password I give you, that's what you gotta keep.
Can you make mine simple?
Oh, all of them be simple.
You keep a
So-
list of them.
Yes, ma'am. So this is your last paper. Everything else is gonna be digital.
It's the smallest one we've had so far.
Hopefully they'll be smaller than that. So, thank you.
Okay, I don't really have anything. I agree with you guys about DOT, about the ball fields. It's looking good, and we're gonna keep pushing forward, and I think we have a good team in place, and Danny's doing an awesome job, and Lakeisha's training us on this new digital stuff. I do want to stress to our new insurance agent that they're gonna have to be hands-on, and I believe they are, but when we have new employees and even when we have ones that exit, but I'm looking forward to, getting to know them better and the benefits that they can provide our staff and then our employees, and I really hope it's gonna be a good relationship. But with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.